We've had a great meal and a great evening here tonight. We have a couple of marvelous speakers that I am really anxious to hear here this evening. We're fortunate to be joined by two pioneering giants in America media, Carl Vogel and George Bodenheimer. Earlier today, we heard from people like Bud Selig and Mark Murphy, two giants in their end of the business. And believe me, these are two outstanding people at this end of the business. And our little group here tonight is really blessed to be in the presence of these two gentlemen who are huge in my business. Carl and George will engage in a Q&A, and then we'll open up for discussion and questions from the audience. Carl Vogel, a 1979 graduate of St. Norbert College, is a private investor and president of Bulldog Capital Partners, Incorporated. Through Bulldog Capital, he's a senior advisor to the Gores Group in Los Angeles and Lake Capital in Chicago. He's also senior advisor to and director of the Dish Network and is a member of the board of directors of Shaw Communications, Ascent Capital Corporation, Next Wave Wireless, Sirius XM Radio, and Universal Electronics Corporations, among others. Previously, as vice chairman of Dish Network and EchoStar Communications Corporation, Vogel was responsible for all strategic matters, investments, media, and advertising sales, corporate development, treasury, programming, negotiation of affiliates, as well as being a member of both companies' executive committees. He also held the title of president from February 2006 through February of 2008. Prior to EchoStar, Mr. Vogel served as president and chief executive officer and director of Charter Communications from October of 2001 until January 2005. He was named 2004 CEO of the Year by Cable Facts magazine. Now, George Bodenheimer is ESPN's longest tenured top executive and has led an unprecedented period of growth for ESPN. In 1998, he was named ESPN's 5th president since the company's launch back in 1979. In 2011, he was named executive chairman of ESPN and ABC Sports and co-chaired Disney Media Networks. As ESPN's executive chairman, and this is amazing when you think about what has happened under his leadership at that one network. They have expanded their brands worldwide. They include 7 24-hour domestic television networks, 46 international television networks, simulcast services, magazines, books, and other enterprises. Under his leadership, ABC Sports has one of the broadcast industry's most comprehensive sports programming schedules, and ESPN has acquired a collection of rights unparalleled in scope in the history of our sports in this country, including Monday Night Football, the NBA, Major League Baseball, NASCAR, college football, the BCS, college basketball, the Masters, Premier League soccer, the golf's British Open, and tennis U.S. Open and Wimbledon. An amazing collection of entities. Without a doubt, the worldwide leader in the coverage of sports, and it happened under his tenure. Mr. Bodenheimer has also elevated the company's numerous corporate outreach initiatives, most notably the V Foundation for Cancer Research, which was founded by ESPN and the late basketball coach and commentator Jim Valvano. The V Foundation has raised more than $100 million since 1993, and 100%, and this is what I like about it and why our family gives to this organization and this group and this charity, 100% of cash donations go directly to research. Mr. Bodenheimer joined the company after college in January 1981 as a driver in the mailroom. And I understood he also was Dick Vitale's driver, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if that's true. He can confirm or deny that here tonight. But he rose through the ranks, becoming Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing in 1996. He's a graduate of Denison University in 1980 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in economics. We are so pleased to have two giants in our business with us here tonight. Please welcome Carl Vogel back home to St. Norbert and George Bodenheimer.
Wow. I don't even know who those guys are. Is this on? Is this on? I got to turn it on. See, I'm in the media business. I have no idea how to use that. Well, Wayne, thank you for that wonderful introduction. For me, it's a pleasure to be back at St. Norbert. It's sort of ironic that George must be one hell of a driver. I should have got a driver's job, I think, instead of an accounting degree. I think I might have done a little better in life, but I have no complaints. I too want to add my welcome to George, who is probably one of the preeminent executives in the sports industry when you consider 30, 35 years ago, ESPN didn't exist. And sports certainly hasn't been the same since Chris Berman started doing SportsCenter, something I think we're all proud of. Clearly, it has had a large impact on our society. I used to tell George, whatever ESPN makes, I'll take when I was in the distribution business. He took that a little too literally, and after 7 networks, we now pay ESPN, I think, over $50 million a month, but hey, we get a lot of value. So I think George wants to share something with us here, and then as I said, we'll get in, or as Wayne said, we'll get into a Q&A. We really want the questions to come from you. Feel free to ask, I think, just about anything. I think you'll find George to be very forthcoming. I think one thing that wasn't on George's resume that I think deserves acknowledgement is George has often been named by numerous publications as the most powerful guy in sports. But I think even in that world, he's much more than that as a person. So here we go.
Thank you for, Wayne, thank you for the introduction. Carl as well for the invitation to be here tonight. President Kunkel, Mark, the Packers. Really appreciate the invitation to be here this evening. We were going to roll that at the end, but given the theory or given the title Sport and Society, I love that 3-minute video. Apologize for the giant highlight, but we update it every year. We'll be happy to update it next year appropriately. But I thought it'd be appropriate to show that. I just set the tone because you know, it touches everything, right? You got all the emotion in there. You got fans speaking what their teams mean to them. You got the incredible diversity that we have in sport throughout our society here. So we wanted to roll that up front and kick this off. But it's a pleasure to be here today. Really enjoyed my day. I was in the morning session, so I got to see Commissioner Seelig speak, and been enjoying seeing the beautiful campus and Green Bay and Lambeau Field today. So it's been a wonderful day, and I really appreciate the invitation, Carl, to be here with you.
Well, thank you, George. It's good to have you. I think we all saw in that video the passion that surrounds the thing we call sport. And I thought Commissioner Seelig made a good point. It's a metaphor for life. But why don't you talk a bit about how you've been able to take that passion and sort of channel the fans, so to speak, on ESPN. I remember the early days of ESPN and some of the things that were on the network. The NFL has obviously made a big difference, but why don't you share with the audience kind of your view on how you've been able to take just the importance of sports in our life and convert it into a network that obviously has an impact and is certainly part of our culture in many, many ways.
I think the best answer to that is really one word, is passion. ESPN was able to tap into the incredible passion that sports fans have for their sports. When we first started ESPN in 1979, this was considered an absolutely ludicrous idea, a 24-hour sports network. Why would anybody need that? Why would they want it? Would anybody watch? And we started from very humble and modest beginnings, which is a fancy way of saying we didn't have any money and couldn't buy any rights.
Well, that's changed, George.
We started with SportsCenter, and then we televised whatever we could get our hands on. And one of those things was Australian rules football. If any of you are familiar, there you go. All right, we got a fan back there. So we started televising Aussie rules, probably 15 hours a day of the 24. And we put up a graphic on the screen that said, you know, we don't know the rules either. If you'd like a rule book, send us a postcard. Well, we got 45,000 postcards. I know, I was in the mailroom. And I had to lug them over to the marketing department so they could respond. But the point behind that story is that was one of the first tangible things that we saw, that there was people out there. It was before we were rated by Nielsen. We had no idea who was watching. It was one of the first tangible methods we had to see that there was fans out there and we were serving them. ESPN was a very small operation at the time, but we could start to see we were serving fans. And I think, to answer your question, we've just been able to tap into that, Carl, for going on 33 years now. Our mission is to serve sports fans. Every decision we make, we put through the prism of, do we think this serves fans? We listen to them. Of course, now we have all kinds of vehicles for feedback with the internet, and everybody's got a comment, but we take the comments of the fans seriously, and we do our best to serve them. That's what's driven this company for 33 years.
Well, since we're in the home of the best NFL franchise in the world, why don't you talk a little bit about what the NFL meant to ESPN and kind of how it sort of changed the dynamic. I've been in this business long enough. I know no one will believe this, but ESPN used to pay the cable operators for carriage. Then competition started, and we really started paying ESPN. So what goes around comes around. But at any rate, why don't you talk a little bit about what the NFL meant early on in ESPN's evolution and how it's become the product it has become. I mean, we were talking about the number of hours you guys have and how you present the product. But talk a little bit about the importance of the NFL and how that has made ESPN probably a bigger network than it might otherwise have been without it.
Well, obviously in this town, talking about the popularity of football is not something you've got to dwell on with this wonderful relationship you have here, not only with the Packers, but also obviously with college football. Not only here at St. Norbert, excuse me. I saw the new field today; looked beautiful, and then the Badgers and all the other college and high school ball you play in this state. It's so popular. In the early going, before we could buy NFL football, we were doing tape delay college football. I used to pick those up at the Hartford airport on Monday morning. They used to come in Federal Express. No satellites, no live programming. We would get games on Monday morning that had been played on Saturday. I'd drive back to Bristol as fast as I could. They'd do some editing and it'd be on the air in the afternoon. That was our initial forays into American football.
That was good.
Well, it was we did what we could at the time, but obviously with the place that football has in the hearts of the sports fans, the gold standard for us was getting the NFL, and we were able to achieve that in 1987. I think we got 13 games was our original package, 4 or 5 which were preseason. There was only about 8 regular season games, but it was a big deal in the business. No cable network had ever televised NFL games before. We started with Sunday Night Football. It certainly allowed us to reinforce our business with our distributors. It's when I met Carl, actually, when he was the chief negotiator for one of our major distributors, and I was the manager of our Denver office, and I had his account. And that's when we met way back in the mid-'80s. And so that was a big deal for ESPN. And we just recently took over Monday Night Football from our sister company, ABC, which televised it, I think, for 36 years. Probably the greatest sports television property that's been invented in the United States. I mean, you know when it's on. You look forward to it. It's a way to get over the Monday hump. It finishes your football weekend, and we love Monday Night Football. It's been a big success for us, and helps that and all the programs we do around it help fuel our company.
You mentioned SportsCenter. Talk about SportsCenter a little bit. I think that is pretty. When you talked about the challenge of a 24-hour network and 24 hours of sports, to think that there's a news show around sports that probably pulls better ratings than most, I'll call it real news, Talk about SportsCenter, how it has become a very identifiable brand, and how it's become an important part of what you guys do at ESPN. I think there's a lot of innovation there. I think it's an example of what you guys do well, but talk about how that came to be and where it fits in the current landscape of where ESPN is at.
SportsCenter has been a part of ESPN since the very first night. We literally came on the air, Lee Leonard, after introducing what this network was going to be, through to a fellow by the name of George Grand, who was with us for many years on the SportsCenter desk, and he sat there and he said, we're going to report the sports news of the day every day from this desk. And it was a pretty succinct statement, and we've been out to do that ever since that very first night. It's now, of course, I think we're live with some version of SportsCenter or Sports News 23 of 24 hours a day now. It has grown into a business unto itself. I mean, there's sports news, you know that from your businesses and what your interests are. There's sports news every day, if not every couple of hours, and it's really become, it's the flagship of ESPN, and really in many respects the backbone of ESPN. And when there are big sports news stories, people tune to ESPN to get those details, like they tune to other networks when there's events in the world. They come to ESPN when big things are occurring in the sports world. So I'm very proud of what we've built under SportsCenter. We work extremely hard to get it right, get the story right, attribute it correctly, so forth and so on. It's not easy. We make mistakes like everybody, and when we do, we own up to them and do our best to move forward. But it is a tremendous amount of work to produce that amount of sports news every single day of the year, which we do.
So given the success of ESPN and the fact it's a household name and it is my background music in my office, what do you do next? How do you continue to innovate? How do you keep ESPN on top? There's certainly, Comcast is very active with their NBC Sports products. Fox is no shrinking violet when it comes to acquiring rights and putting networks together. What do you do? How do you continue to innovate? What's the next SportsCenter? What are the next things on the horizon that we as sports fans can look for?
You know, the biggest thing for me leading the company was maintaining the culture of the company. A culture that's based on innovation, risk-taking, hard work, self-respecting others within our organization and without. These are the kind of hallmarks of ESPN. And I tell our employees all the time, and we talk about it, that if we maintain that culture, I believe that ESPN will continue to be extremely successful, because I don't really know the answer to the question you've asked, what's next? I get asked all the time, but it's extremely hard to predict the future. What I'd rather have our employees focused on is our mission of serving fans and wanting to do it with integrity, being leaders, being first, happy to incur risk while doing it. If things fail, that's fine, move on. It's okay at ESPN to make a mistake, as long as it's an honest mistake, and that's what we tell our employees. So whether it's going to be a new mobile phone or some new technology that is invented, or some better TV or computer or some display device, I'm not a technologist, and I don't try to be, but I know that our employees will make sure that ESPN is there first with the best product we can possibly produce, and that's really how we continue to drive innovation and progress at the company. That kind of a mindset.
You mentioned a bit of mobility. You mentioned a little bit about social media earlier. How does that play into the overall theme of ESPN? I think most of us as consumers certainly understand the value of the live sports rights, and Monday Night Football is generally how I fall asleep on Monday nights.
I hope not.
Not because of the game. I generally make it to the late in the third quarter.
I will keep your set on.
Yeah. But my set's always on, George. So talk about social media, talk about mobility, talk about some of the other ways that you see fans interacting with ESPN, and why is that good for ESPN, why is that good for fans, and weave in a little why that's good for distributors.
I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a sports fan has ever existed in our lifetimes. If you're from the aspect of portability, availability, quality of what you see, the mobile phones. I think this year, if I'm not mistaken, there were more smartphones shipped in the United States than PCs for the first time ever. 50% of mobile users in the U.S. will have a smartphone this year. The tablets are like carrying a little television set with you. So all of those products are going to continue to improve in terms of picture quality, availability, product quantity and quality. So I think you'll be able to get whatever sports you're interested in on whatever device you are most interested in watching it on. So from a portability standpoint, I think it's going to continue to explode. As far as the whole social currency point of view, we were chatting at dinner. I mean, there's three pretty darn good games on tonight. New York Rangers, New York Devils, Nationals at Phillies on ESPN, I might add, and Celtics at the Sixers, also on ESPN. And all those events are also exploding in social currency, whether it's Twitter or people talking on Facebook or emailing each other or what have you. I mean, there's a whole world that is happening, commenting on those games, and fans are enjoying them, making comments. So we have to find ways to complement our television experience with the social media, and it's got its pitfalls. The news cycle is about 2 minutes long. You could certainly say something you don't wish to. We're trying to work with our talent, our producers, to be responsible, and it's a whole new world. But it's if you're not evolving, you're going backwards. So we're working hard to make sure that all these new technologies that are available help complement how you might enjoy ESPN and our products. That's what we're trying to do.
I want to ask you one more thing, and then we'll turn it over to the audience. I guess this might be what this is for. But you've been at ESPN your entire career. You've seen a lot of change. You've been the president for over 10 years, or CEO. What's your greatest? What do you consider your greatest accomplishment at ESPN, and what do you consider maybe your greatest disappointment at ESPN?
Well, the thing I'm most proud of is how the company goes about and does its business. We often get painted as, with all of the networks and all the businesses as this, huge company. Well, it's, company's made up of people, and yes, we've grown, and I'm just very proud of the culture that we've established and the people and what they do. We spend a lot of time giving back to the communities that we work in, just like you do here, and the Packers do, and St. Norbert does. We're responsible citizens in our community. We raise lots of money for lots of causes. The V Foundation was mentioned earlier. So I'm most proud of kind of that. And we look you in the eye, and we can do a deal with a handshake. And that's the kind of company we work hard to be. My biggest disappointment is I haven't found a way yet to return to the mailroom, because it was a lot easier than my current position. I'm working on it.
I don't think so. But, if you need a driver, I am now available, by the way. So really, we encourage all of you to ask any question that you have on your mind regarding the business of ESPN, the business of sports. I do think ESPN is a great product. It's made a great deal of difference in the business I've been in the pay television community. We have had our disagreements from time to time, but I can tell you that the customer satisfaction scores on ESPN product are very, very substantial. They deliver on their promise to the fan, and I think the companies I've been involved in have been better because of our relationship with ESPN and specifically with George. But we haven't shook hands on a deal in a long time, but those lawyers seem to get in the way these days. But please, questions.